I'm happy to be able to talk with you today on the topic of opportunities and challenges related to the lockdown, related to the pandemic, which is affecting everybody in the world, and to be able to visit with you about some of the ways we might better deal with this, especially within our families and the people we're locked down with. Life is a challenge. We are always being challenged. We always have opportunities to grow. And if we see these challenges as opportunities, then have a positive outlook to them, we're much more likely to grow from them. If we see them as problems to try and avoid or to try and get rid of, then I think we will always find we will be unhappy. These are great opportunities, not only for us to grow individually, but for us to grow collectively. And the first job for each one of us is to be responsible for our own individual growth. How can we as a person be better? How can we be more caring? How can we be more knowledgeable? How can we do better? How can we be of more service to our community? All of these are things that we can do on our own. And so this pandemic has actually given us the gift of time and the gift of reflection, the opportunity to focus on what may be some weaknesses of ours, and to focus more on our strengths and to develop those strengths. So, as we take this time, I want to say that we need to be protagonists. We need to be actors. We're not being acted upon. It is not useful for us to look at the institutions, our communities, and to be blaming them and saying, well, why aren't they helping us? Why aren't they doing? Um, there is a time for that and a place for it, but we should be able to take our lives in our own hands and to be able to uh, decide how we want to address that, how we want to approach this problem, and how we might be able to solve that. First of all, by looking at our own selves and coming to know ourselves a little bit better, and by developing some of our qualities and characteristics, our strengths. One of the first things that we can do is to come to know ourselves a little bit better. What are some things that we're good at? What are some things we like and we feel that we can offer to other people? These are things that we might want to spend more time with and to develop more. One thing that we can look at in terms of developing with all of us is our knowledge. Of course, we can develop more knowledge of ourselves, but we can also develop more knowledge about our world and about our family, particularly in this time of lockdown. We can know what are some of our likes and dislikes, and which one of those likes and dislikes maybe we need to focus on in terms of doing better with. Maybe we like to cook. Maybe we can cook more. Maybe we don't like to be bothered when we are in our room. Maybe we need to think about, is that a strength or is that a weakness? Is that something we need to overcome? Do we need to be more patient? But we also can look at our whole family situation. What strengths and weaknesses does the family bring? What is the culture of our family, and how we strengthen that culture, that community, so that you can thrive and your brothers, sisters, mother, father, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever, can also thrive, can flourish, can develop their capacities, can come to know themselves better, can come to know their strengths, can come to find ways that they can use whoever they are to bring greater happiness and well-being not only to themselves but to their family and friends. So one of the things that I would like to suggest you look at, there are a number of surveys you can do online. One is called PERMA, PERMA. It stands for qualities that you want to think about. These are the healthy qualities that will cause you to flourish. And the P stands for positive emotions. So one of the things we can think about is how do we increase the positive emotions in our life and in our family's life. The second is engagement, and how can we make our engagement with other people and with the things we do more positive and productive, and that will help others and ourselves. The R stands for relationships, and just by nature of being in a family or with friends, you are in a relationship. The quality of those relationships will very much determine the quality of your life. And so to the extent you can focus on them and cultivate them, you will be able to develop not only your own happiness, but others' happiness and well-being as well. The M stands for meaning. And meaning is something that is very key to your happiness and well-being. If you do not have meaning, and if you cannot find meaning in your life as an individual and as a family, you will have a hard time staying happy and flourishing. And then the last, the A in PERMA, is for accomplishments. And so we need to be doing things. We need to be active. We need to be accomplishing things. We need to always be growing, because if we are not growing, we will be going backwards. So you might want to take this time to go and do one of these online free surveys and see what your PERMA score is. Another activity you might look at that might be helpful is look at your character strengths. And there is a VIA survey that you can do. It's part of positive psychology. But each one of us has strengths. And if we know our strengths and we develop our strengths, then those strengths become gifts that we can give to other people. Some strengths may be seen in different lights according to how they're used and when they're used. But each one of us is born with gifts, I believe. We're born with the treasures inside each of us. And I think part of the meaning in our life, the meaning that you can get out of your life and the accomplishment you can get, is by bringing those gifts, those treasures that you have out. Maybe they're like gems and you're polishing them. You're making them to shine. You're making them to be something that is attractive and can be used by other people. This brings a positive emotion, it brings engagement, it brings relationship, meaning, and accomplishment. So I think finding what your strengths are and looking at some of these surveys may help you. One of the ways that we need to develop is to develop more knowledge. And this is a good time to do that. You can develop knowledge to further your career, to improve your family life, to improve your own character. All of these bits of knowledge can be found. We're very fortunate time that we live in a time of science and many great discoveries. And one of the sciences that has grown quite a bit in the last 2 decades is the science of psychology. And so you might want to look at, again, what can you learn more about who we are? Because I think one of the things that we're greatly missing in this world is that knowledge. And because we don't know who we are, we don't know what our purpose is, what we should be doing, and how we should act. And I think the world desperately needs to answer these questions. Now you have time to do that, just to be able to sit back and to do a little reflection, do some meditation. And by meditating, there's many different ways. But in terms of this kind of meditation, to look at the question of who you are. But I will tell you that the best, having spent my life trying to answer this question, the best way that I have been able to answer it was not by sitting in my room and thinking and just trying to find out who am I, what all of these kinds of things, meditating and such. I found out who I was mostly by serving other people and by trying to learn what my purpose in life was. And by doing that, I became to find my strengths. I became to also see my weaknesses, but I became to know who I was. And part of who I was, one of the strengths I feel I have, is that of being a teacher. I love teaching. I love learning and I love teaching. And so for me to be able to teach others is one of the greatest gifts that I can get myself, to see that whatever I've shared has been a help to other people. So I think finding out who you are, learning through the psychology, actually there are many free courses online that you can do about this, and many ways you can approach this. One of the ways that I think is very valuable is to consult with your family, to consult with your friends, to see how do they see you, and how do they come to see themselves. By having these kinds of interactions, by seeing what we as a community can use more of, then I think we become better equipped to grow and develop. There is a program called Coursera. It's spelled Course S, and when the last is SERA. And in there is a course I would encourage you to look at. It's called The Science of Well-Being. And in it, the instructor takes the science that primarily is coming out of the field of positive psychology and happiness studies and well-being, and puts it all together into a very, very useful package that you can go through for free and can help you to understand how you can be happier and how you can flourish and how you can help others to do the same. Because quite frankly, we have a lot of misconceptions about how to do that. Our world is very materialistically oriented right now. People think that happiness comes from having things, from acquiring power, from having fame, from possessions. This is not happiness. And in fact, America, the richest country in the world, where people have the most things, have the most opportunities, has one of the highest, if not, it's one of the most unhappy places on the earth. And as the quality of our material life is increasing, the level of depression and suicide is increasing. And so I'm citing this just to give you an understanding that happiness does not come from things. And if that's where you're looking for your happiness, you will be disappointed. And you can do your own, you can look at the experiment that's going on in the United States or in the West throughout, of people who have tremendous wealth, material possessions, or people who have great power and see that they do not have greater happiness or well-being. So I think you need to look inside. You need to look into your heart, into those human values, what we call virtues, our spiritual principles that make up our character, make up our true identity. We think of our identity as my race or my gender or my class or my education, my nationality, my religion. All of these things are parts of our identity. But our true identity, our inner being, that inner essence, is something that is who we really are. This is going to dissolve into dust shortly, and it is a very temporary, it's a vehicle for my spirit, for my essence to manifest itself in this world. It is not who I am. And so we need to go deeper and to find out who that essence is, and to cultivate that essence, to cultivate the qualities that have been given to that essence. So I think you need to develop your mind. You need to get greater knowledge and to come to know truth. One of the exercises that I've done in my life is to try to just speak the truth. Sometimes I'm speaking and you just say things that are your opinion and you express them as true. So in your relationships, in your family, in these times, or with your friends, check yourself. Is what you're saying true? And is what people are saying to you true? It is really the time you have the capacity to independently make some determinations about what is true, what is good, what is valuable, what is beautiful. These are things that you need to make determinations about. And I encourage you to do that in this time. I think it is also a time for you to not only ask the question of what is true, but what is caring, what is compassionate, what is loving. Because I think this is one of the key values, the key human values that is most needed in the world today. We do not have enough compassion, enough care, and enough love for others. Even we don't have that for ourselves. So if we wish to be helpful within our families and within our communities, the more we can care, be compassionate and loving towards our true self, not the ego and this, our superficial self. And we can do that to others, the happier and we will be, the happier they will be. I think the last virtue or human value that I would encourage you to focus on during this time is that of fairness as well. We often are raised, especially in materialistic cultures, to be self-centered, to be egotistical, to even be narcissistic. We think of ourselves first. We care more about our well-being than the well-being of other people. And there is a point to do that in your life. There is a point when you need to take care of yourself. But if you don't grow out of that stage, it is blameworthy. It is something that you should not be happy about. And so I would encourage you to, during this time of challenge and opportunity, this is an opportunity for you to gain more knowledge or truth, to you to develop your heart, to be more caring, compassionate, and loving, and for you to be more fair, just, and equitable in your dealings with other people. So I hope that this has brought you some truth. I hope you feel the love and compassion that I have for you, and I hope that I've been fair in presenting what I've presented to you. I do wish you the best, and I hope that you will do well and flourish during this time. Set goals for yourself. Bring yourself to account each day. Maybe keep a gratitude journal. Show gratitude, gratefulness to others. That's a way of being kind and loving. All of these are possibilities for you to grow, to develop, to make this time a time of flourishing, and to take this challenge and make it an opportunity. So I wish you well, and God bless.